Good afternoon, welcome to Vanik-Ias. We'll discuss current affairs of 25th February. So, first topic is obviously the Ukraine crisis, right? Today we know that Russia already started their operations in Ukraine and we'll briefly see the underlying things. So, Russia recognized Ukraine rival regions in eastern Ukraine, that is Donetsk and Luhansk, and independent areas despite calls from West to put an end to tensions driven by the Russia that may attack Ukraine. See what happened if you see after Cold War, when Cold War ended, what happened? Disintegration of USSR happened, right? In disintegration of USSR, Russia was the biggest country. After that, it is the Ukraine. If you consider in some areas of Ukraine, there are many Russian population. Those are speaking Russian language as well. So they have the Russia and Ukraine both have historical linkages, right? Historical linkages, and Russia. If you consider the Cold War time, then it is the USSR and the USA. These are two countries. They were the two major powers. One major power is USSR, and the second major power was USA. USSR is having the ideology of communism, and USA was having the ideology of capitalism. Then, as Cold War ended, because of various internal reasons, the big empire of USSR broken down, which we call as balkanization of USSR. So many countries like Yugoslovakia and Yugoslovakia, Ukraine, all these things, they have came out of Lithuania. They have came out of the USSR and become independent country. They declared independence. Okay, Russia see, but now what is happening? That NATO forces. At that time, there are two alliances. One was Warsaw Pact, which was formed by the USSR, and second is NATO, that is formed by the USA. Right? These are two alliances of forces. Various countries joined these two pacts, right? Alliances, you can say. But as USSR, but because of what Russia do not want, Russia do not want that any NATO should include the countries of the former USSR or those who have got independence. NATO should not take over or should not include those countries by various politics, right? Why? Because Russia see it as a threat to its internal, to its security. We know that already there is tensions between USA and Russia even at the present time, right? Although there is no match between USA and Russia, still there are the USA have been imposing various sanctions, and the developed countries, the Western countries, they have been imposing various sanctions on Russia, right? And Putin is a very strong leader since year 2000. He came and he says that Russia will get its position in the world, and Russia is a permanent member of UNSC. In that line, United Nations, there will be no resolutions can be passed against Russia without the veto power of Russia. So this is the situation, and we will see Russia. There are various stunts, right? Various stunts. Here it is said that Russia is invading Ukraine, or it is forcefully, illegal. It is acquiring Ukraine. But there are socio-economic linkages. There are cultural linkages between the people. Many people support the Russian invasion, right? So these are the scenario. And as Ukraine is going to join NATO forces, then Russia it is the opposing and taken the decision. So this paved the way for military support, a direct challenge to the West that fueled fear Russia could immediately invade the Ukraine. Right, already they have started it. Tensions have peaked over the last few weeks. Russia amassed over 1,50,000 troops at Ukrainian borders in one of the worst crises since Cold War. The announcement shatters 2015 peace deal between the signed in Minsk, requiring right that is requiring Ukrainian authorities to offer broad self self-rule to the regions. There are some rebel regions in the Ukraine, and those who are support the Russia, and because of various pressure from the UN, because of the deal also peace deal, Ukraine has given autonomy and self-rule to those rebel regions of Russia. Okay, now what is the Russian stand? It blames the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Right? This is the organization that is formed by the this organization was formed by the Western countries or USA, majorly USA, and their allies for the clarification, and called US-led alliance as an external threat to Russia. This NATO was created during Cold War period. Charge that Ukraine has had inherited Russia's historic lands after the Soviet collapse and used by the West to contain Russia. It is used by the West to contain Russia. If you can remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, where the Cuba, as it is territory is linked, USSR developed the relationship with Cuba to threaten the USA. Similarly, it is Russia is saying that Ukraine is and US is developing its relationship with Ukraine to counter Russia or to contain Russia. Pivot to Russia. This is maybe the policy of USA. It wants Western countries to guarantee that NATO won't allow Ukraine and former member of Soviet countries to join as members. This is the demand of Russian President Putin that NATO won't allow Ukraine and other former Soviet countries to join as members. It has also demanded the alliance halt weapons deployments to the Ukraine. Demanded the alliance halt weapon deployments to the Ukraine. Right? They should not give Ukraine to the weapon to the Ukraine. Right? And roll back its forces from Eastern Europe that are already by the NATO. They should be rolled back. The Western countries have rejected the demand. So neither Western countries is obeying the demand of Russia, neither it is listening to Western countries. So there is probability of war between the two. Then what is the background of the crisis? Each point here is important. Ukraine and Russia shares 100 years of cultural, linguistic, and familial links. Remember, Ukraine and Russia, they share 100 years of cultural, linguistic, and familial links. Right? Our Cold War ended in 1989 or 1990. After that, they separated. Before it, they have the cultural, linguistic, or they belongs to USSR. For many in Russia, in the ethnical region, Russian parts of Ukraine, the shared heritage of the countries is an emotional issue and has been exploited for electoral and military purposes. Right? Russian parts of Ukraine, the shared heritage of the countries is exploited for electoral and military purposes. As a part of the Soviet Union, Ukraine was the second most powerful of Soviet Republic of Russia. It was crucially strategical, economic, culturally. Right? It is the second most. Ukraine was the second most powerful Soviet Republic after Russia. So it was crucial, strategically and economically and culturally. And because by applying money or capitalist power, USA now want to develop a relationship with Ukraine. Right. The Donbas region comprising of Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast of Ukraine has been center of the conflict since March 2014, when Moscow invaded and annexed the Crimean Peninsula. Right? Moscow invaded and annexed Crimean Peninsula. Russia, there is this Crimean Peninsula, it is from disputed area, and it annexed in 2014. In April, pro-Russian rebels began seizing territory with Russians supporting them with hybrid warfare in the eastern Ukraine. So there is pro-Russian rebels in the eastern Ukraine. Remember, pro-Russian rebels in the eastern Ukraine. Right? In May 2004, the rebels in the Donetsk and Luhansk region held referendum to declare independence of Ukraine. They wanted to develop referendum to declare independence from Ukraine. So there is the so these are the issues between the background crisis. Fasting April, they have hundreds years of cultural and linguistic familiar links. Then they have emotional bondage. There is also Ukraine is the second most powerful after Soviet Republic, right? That is crucial so for us. Ukraine is crucial for us social, for us strategical and economic and cultural links are concerned. The Donbass region, they have Moscow has invaded and annexed the Crimean Peninsula in pro-Russian rebels. Also, they have been begun sieging territory, right? And with the support of Russia in eastern Ukraine, right? So eastern Ukraine region where we see the pro-Russian rebels, and they have also the rebels in held a referendum to declare independence from the Ukraine. So these are the issues. Since predominantly, since then, predominantly Russian-speaking regions, more than 70% speak region. Uh, Within Ukraine have been witnessing selling and skirmishes between the rebels and the Ukrainian forces, leading to loss of over 14,000 lives by most of the estimates, creating around 1.5 million registered internally displaced person and destruction of local economy. See the issue. The issue here is that those areas who are more Russian people, it's more than 70% of people, they have been tortured by the Ukrainian military, right? So they have lost lives. 14,000 people have lost lives. So that crisis has developed. What has changed in now the selling that it has intensified from October 2021 when Russia began amassing troops along the borders of Ukraine. Right, this development that the Russian began amassing troops in the borders of Ukraine. That's why they fear that there is development. There is chances that Russia will invade the Ukraine and take back the land. The situation in Donbass escalates, the possibility of war cannot be dismissed. The way to prevent outbreak of a war or to implement the Minsk agreements immediately, as Russia has suggested. Minsk agreement, this Minsk agreement immediately to implement it immediately. Right? Russia is saying that they are again and again violated indirectly or directly. What this Minsk agreement means? Minsk government means to name after Belarusian capital Minsk, right? Belarus. See, this region is now in news. You must see the balkanization of those Balkan countries. You must know what those Balkan countries and their capital. Minsk one was written in 2000, September 2014 by the Trilateral Contact Group on Ukraine, Russia, and Organization of Security and Cooperation of Europe. Right. So this is between Ukraine, Russia, and OSCE with mediation by France and Germany in so-called Normandy format. Under the Minsk one, US and Russia backed rebels agreed on 12-point ceasefire deal. Right? They agreed 12-point ceasefire deal. What are those ceasefire deal? Which include prisoners exchanges, delivery of humanitarian assistance, and withdrawal of heavy weapons. However, due to violations by both sides, the agreement didn't last long. So this means one, Russia is alleging that Ukraine is violating the principles. Russia is alleging that Ukraine is violating Minsk one, and Ukraine is alleging that Russia is violating the Minsk one. So both sides have committed some mistakes. As rebels moved further into Ukraine in February 2015, representatives of Russia, Ukraine, overseas, and the leaders of Donetsk and Luhansk signed 13-point agreement known as Minsk 2 Accord. So 13-point agreement signed. Minsk 2 Accord signed. OSCE, Russia, Ukraine. The new agreement has provisions for an immediate ceasefire, withdrawal of heavy weaponry, provisions of immediate ceasefire and withdrawal of heavy weaponry. This OSCE monitoring dialogue on interim self-government for Donetsk and Luhansk in accordance with Ukrainian law. It, the new agreement provision for immediate ceasefire between the rebels and the Ukraine. Supporting dialogue in interim self-government in the Donetsk and Luhansk in accordance with Ukrainian law. It has also provisions related to acknowledgement of special status by parliament, pardon and amnesty for fighters, exchanges of hostages and prisoners, humanitarian aid. However, these provisions have not been implemented because what is popularly known as Minsk conundrum. They essentially mean that Ukraine and Russia have contradictory interpretation about the agreement. Right? Both have contradictory interpretation and both have violated the Minsk agreement, and this is not implemented. That means if not implemented means the exchange of hostages and prisoners didn't happen, humanitarian assistance didn't happen. Right? So these things led to development of Ukraine crisis. The United States have already announced the sanctions prohibiting new investment trade and financing by US persons to farming and to break our regions. So United States have already announced its sanctions, right? It has again imposed sanctions. Both Western countries, Canada has also imposed sanctions. Japan is likely join the US-led sanctions, while French officials have been quoted saying that reports that the European Union is also discussions for the punitive actions against Russia. Right, so both European Union, Russia, Japan, they are supporting the Ukraine, and they announced action against Russia. EU has condemned the Russia over blatant violation of international law as well as Minsk agreement. The United Nations has also warned the further sanctions. Australia also called for Russia's sanctions unacceptable. See the stand of Russia. Australia called Russia's actions unacceptable. It's unprovoked and unwarranted. So these are the things. These are the developments about Ukraine crisis. Then what is the Indian stand? Now Indian PM has talked with the Russian President Mr. Putin, and also and the ambassador has requested India to intervene and solve the issue. India didn't join the Western powers in condemnation of Russia's intervention in Crimea and kept a low profile in the issue. In 2020, India voted against Ukraine-sponsored resolution in the United Nations. Ukraine-sponsored resolution against United Nations that condemned alleged human rights violations and Crimea, thereby backing old ally Russia in the issue. Right? India has supported Russia in the Ukraine crisis. Recently, India also suggested even UNSC that quiet and constructive diplomacy is a need for our, and any step could escalate the tension that should be avoided. India's stand has been welcomed by Russia. So this is the India stand. As I have said, India is maintaining a low profile. India has supported EU, Russia so far as the Ukraine crisis, the Crimea crisis is concerned, and Crimean, the Ukrainian ambassador has requested Mr. Modi to intervene, and India has talked with Russia yesterday. Petition to enforce fundamental duties in citizens. Recent Supreme Court issued a notice to the center and states to respond to a petition to enforce the fundamental duties of citizens, including patriotism and unity of the nation. So, comprehensive and well-defined laws. The fundamental right. There is a petition came that said that fundamental duties must be enforceable, right? To enforce fundamental duties of citizen, including patriotism, unity of the nations, through well-defined laws. Okay, we know that two parts, especially our DPSP and fundamental duties that are mentioned in the Constitution, are not enforceable. Enforceable means If a particular provision is violated, then you cannot go to the court. For example, it is mentioned in the fundamental duties to preserve our environment, and somebody is running some garbages, and it is creating some even creating any environment that is against any or making something that harms the environment, then he cannot be punished. We cannot go to the court because of it is mentioned in the fundamental duties. They are mentioned in the 51 way, and it is they came from by Soran Singh committee. There are 11 fundamental rights, and the last one was added. Right? Originally there was 10 fundamental rights. So fundamental duties. Fundamental duties are specified under Article 51A. That is part IBA or 4A of the Constitution. They strive to uphold the country's ideals and contribute to the growth and betterment. Right? They're the moral principles for the citizens. We see that we have rights and fundamental rights, and it is basically tell us what is our duties for the society. Right? Gandhi has again said that right there should be balance between rights and duties. We should not only focus on rights. We have to only focus. We must focus on duties as well. So what are the fundamental duties? The idea of fundamental duties is inspired by the Constitution of Russia, right? That is a USSR Constitution. They are included in past for A and Constitution 42nd Constitutional Amendment. The recommendation of Soran Singh Committee. Remember, they are introduced in 40, 42nd Constitutional Amendment by Soran Singh Committee, right? He was a Soran Singh was a cabinet minister. Then originally there are 10 members of one more duty was added through 86th Constitutional Amendment in 86th Constitutional Amendment in 2002. Like the directive principles of state policy, fundamental duties are also non-justiciable in nature. They are non-justiciable in nature or cannot be enforceable in the court. What are the list of fundamental duties? To abide by the Constitution, respect and ideals and institutions, national flag and national anthem. This principle is already implemented by National Honors Act. If somebody is violating or disrespecting the national flag, he will be punished. He or she will be punished. To cherish and follow the noble ideas that are inspired of national struggle for freedom, to afford and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so, to promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood. Here it is talking about noble ideals during the freedom movement. Respect national ideals and institutions. Protect sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Defend the country or render national service. Right? To promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood between different people. Right? Because there is a huge diversity of linguistic diversity, regional diversity, sectional diversity, religious diversity, so various types of diversity. That's why brotherhood is highly important for social order. To value and preserve this heritage of our composite culture, we must preserve our culture as well. Composite culture, we must preserve our composite culture, that is the diversity. To protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, have the compassion for living creatures. Right. So, preservation of natural environment. Development of scientific technical humanism, right? Because that is the basis of every scientific development. There must be rationalism. And the safeguard public property and observe violence. To safeguard public property and observe violence. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. The nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievements. If everybody will work properly, then nation will progress. To provide for the education of child or ward between age and 6 to 14 years, added in 86th Constitutional Amendment 2002. This was added. It is the responsibility of the parent to provide education. This is also mentioned in fundamental right. It is also mentioned in DPSP. So far as the education of children and education of the children is concerned. So the difference between rights and duties, right? This is a question. Especially Gandhi has given a theory regarding rights and duties. He said that you should there should be value if you do your duty, then rights will come automatically. This is what Gandhi has said. And the fundamental duties are intended to serve a constant reminder to citizens, while the Constitution especially refer them as certain fundamental rights. Conferred on certain fundamental rights It also requires citizens to observe basic norms of democratic conduct and democratic behavior. Right? Basic norms of norms and behavior. These are the things that are mentioned in fundamental duties. They serve as a warning to people. Warning to people. This basically came during the Indira Gandhi government as a warning to people for anti-social activities that disrespect to the nation, like burning the flag, destroying the public property, all these things, disturbing public peace. These help in the promotion of a sense of discipline and commitment towards the nation. Help in the promotion of a sense of discipline and commitment towards the nation. They help in realizing national goals by active participation of citizens rather than the mere spectators. Right? So there should be active participation by the citizen of India for national goals. It helps the court determine the constitutionality of a law. Right? Constitutionality of a law. This should help the court because that the principle mentioned in the constitution based on the duties for instance, and any law passed by the legislature will take to court for constitutional validity of the law. It is giving force to any fundamental duty, then such law will be taken as reasonable. Right? If a law forces a fundamental duty, then such law are considered as reasonable laws. But the need to legally to enforce the fundamental duty. See in memorial, the emphasis of Indian society accordance to it dictates the ancient scripture has been the individual's kartabya, right? Is the performance of one's duties towards the society, the country, towards his parents. The Gita and Ramayana enjoy people perform their duties without carrying their rights. So in our scriptures, in our ancient scriptures, we are focused more on duties rather than on the rights. In the erstwhile Soviet Union, also rights and duties are placed among the same footing. There is a pressing need to enforce and implement list of the fundamental duties. For instance, to uphold and protect sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India, this should be a fundamental duty, and this is already mentioned in various laws, but still it need to be interpreted or enforced properly. Then there is also to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. It's a fundamental duty, but that need to be law. Then disseminate the sense of nationalism and promote spirit of patriotism to uphold the unity of India. Disseminate a sense of nationalism, right? This will ensure the integrity and unity of India by spreading such ideas of nationalist ideas. The foreign duties assume significance after the emergence of China as superpower, right? Because they are pressing duties rather than the rights, and they become superpower, and they are saying that they are providing economic rights as compared to political economic rights as compared to political rights, right? They are saying they give primacy to duties over the rights, and we see China is now a bigger power, almost 5 times bigger power than India. But what's of the time during the 1980s, both have the same status. Right. The Verma Committee on Fundamental Duties on Citizen 1995 identified the existence of legal provisions and the implementation of some of the fundamental duties. The committee provided the provisions like, this is the Burma Committee. No person can destroy the national flag, the Constitution of India, and national anthem under the Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1971. Prevention to Insult to National Honor Act 1971. No person can disrespect the national flag and the Constitution of India. The Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955 provided for punishments in a case of any offence related to caste and religion. Next, it was argued in the petition of non-adherence to the fundamental duties has a direct bearing upon the fundamental rights, including in Article 14, equality for law and protection of certain rights regarding this freedom of speech, and Article 21. So, non-adherence also affect our fundamental rights. For example, there is a need to enforce fundamental duty arising to new illegal trend of protest by protesters that in the garb of freedom and speech. Enforce fundamental duties, right? New type of protest that also affect the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights protests also affect the fundamental rights of other citizens, right? Vandalizing the property, public property that do not claim rights, that they break the rights of other citizens. What does the Supreme Court stand on fundamental duties? The Supreme Court Ranganath Judgment 2003 held that fundamental duties should not be only enforced by legal sanction but also by social sanctions. Right? The Supreme Court's Ranganath Mishra Judgment 2003 said that there should be social sanctions rather than the legal sanctions. In AIMS Student versus Union of AIMS, it was held that Supreme Court held that Supreme fundamental duties are equally important like fundamental rights. Those fundamental duties are not enforceable like fundamental rights, but they cannot be overlooked as duties. They are the prefixed by the same word fundamental, which has six prefixed by the founding fathers in the constitution or the right in part 3. So as the fundamental word is included as it is in various judgments like AIMS Student versus Union of AIMS 2001, all this is Supreme Court given equally important. She said that fundamental duties and fundamental rights are equally important. So if there is duties, they must be enforced. Must be enforced. However, the Supreme Ranganath Mishra judgment says that they are just legal sanctions. They do not require any legal sanctions. They require social sanctions. Right. So what is the Supreme Court stand on fundamental duties? We have discussed this things. Next we'll see Kisan drones. What are the Kisan drones? Kisan drone will have an unmanned tank filled with insecticides and nutrients. Unmanned tank. Kisan drone is an unmanned tank filled with insecticides and nutrients. The drones are expected to have a capacity of 5 kg to 10 kg. Right. Limit is 5 kg to 10 kg. They are unmanned tank filled with insecticides and nutrients. These are Kisan drones. Drone will spray the same amount of pesticide on about 1 acre of land in just 15 minutes. So it is highly efficient. A 1 acre of land, drone will spray the same amount of 5 to 10 kg of the fertilizers in 1 acre of land in just in 15 minutes. It will save time and require less effort, and spraying will be done uniformly. They will also be used for carry vegetables, fruits, fish, etc. to market from the farms. These items will be supplied directly to the market with a minimal damage, consuming lesser time, resulting in more profit to farmers and fishermen. And so they will also help to carry vegetable, fish, and fruits to the markets from the farms. These are the Kisan drones. Right. The most important thing is that they will carry insecticides and nutrients. They are unmanned tank. There will no man. They can take a weight of 5 to 10 kg. They will spray the same amount of pesticide in an acre in just 15 minutes. So they are highly efficient. Right. They can also help in carrying vegetables from market to from farm to market, and that will help to the farmers. Next. Then how the use of Kisan drones is a significant step. Kisan drones will reduce is used to boost agriculture sector and economy. The use Kisan drones will be promoted for crop assessment. Right? Even if you remember the provisions of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, it is said that drones will be used or technology will be used to calculate the losses. And so Kisan drone will be used to promote the crop assessment, digitization of land records, spreading insecticides and nutrients, It will use some new ways in the evolution of high capacity drones that will use to carry vegetable food species to the market directly from the farms. The development of the drone market in India will generate fresh employment and new opportunities for the youth. Right, Kisan drones. These are Kisan drones that will help in various things like transportation of vegetables and fruits. That will also help in top assessment, digitization of land records. I have already explained the Swamitya scheme. If you remember the Swamitya scheme, it is regarding digitization of land records. For that, we need Kisan drones so that we can do it easily and seamlessly and within a short period of time, which is very important. So drones will help in this matter. We have drone regulations rule 2021 that has liberalized the drone sector and that is attracting various foreign investments. Right, this is a new sector and that will provide new employment. Then what are the associated challenges? Experts in the agriculture sector are skeptical about the benefits of drones and how they will increase the farmers' income. There is not any sign in the government meeting in the earlier promise of doubling farmers' income in 2022. The spraying of pesticide and fertilization may help in production, but it is the industries that will profit the most by selling the drones. Right? So the farmer will calculate the profit by just by spreading the drones, how much it will cost and whether it will be cost effective or not. How drones are emerged in recent times. Until recently, there was a conception that drones are meant for the armed forces and fighting enemies. However, Kisan Drone Suvidha has added new chapter in the farming sector. Kisan Drone Suvidha, which prove a milestone technology. If you consider what is precision farming means this application of technology and science and technology for exact, so making the farming more efficient. This is so we can call as this Kisan Drone Suvidha is one of the part of the precision farming. Then Garuda Aeroplane has also set a goal of developing 1 lakh drones. Garuda Aerospace. There's 1 lakh they will establish that will develop 1 lakh drones, which are being in diverse purposes. On the Swamitya scheme, I have already explained. Land records are being documented through drone technology. Also, medicines, vaccines, and being supplied to various parts of the country, and it is also being used sprinkling pesticides on crops. That is basically use of that we have said that in 1 acre it will take for only 15 minutes. UNESCO. So UNESCO celebrates 21st International Mother Language Day. Right. Their theme was using technology. Remember the theme, using technology for multilingual learning, challenging and opportunity. That was the theme for 2022. Every year, 21st February is done celebrated like International Mother Language Day to promote mother tongue based multilingual education. Then what are the objective questions? Let's discuss some objective questions. Okay. Nitrous oxide. Right. Nitrous oxide is a short-lived greenhouse gas. No, it's not short-lived. It can stay in the atmosphere for up to 125 years. 125 years, nitrous oxide can stay in the atmosphere. Nitrous oxide, it is we can say nitrous oxide is 3 times more potent than carbon dioxide. 300 times. 300 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Which is very dangerous greenhouse gases, right? It reaches the stratosphere and reacts with ozone, depletes it with the impact to that of chlorofluorocarbons. Yes, it affects the chlorofluorocarbon, right? So second option is right, first option is wrong. So two only is the answer. Next, the Ministry of Home Affairs can designate individual as terrorist under which act? Presently, this Unlawful Activities Prevention Act Amendment Act 2019. This will designate terrorist. Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Act 2019. It's a factual question. Then faith for rights. What is this faith for right? How to balance the religious rules and fundamental rights. For example, there we have also hijab issue. It is a conflict between fundamental rights and also religious rules. In that scenario, this faith for rights movement was started by United Nations. So option B is the right answer. That is to balance the religious demand and the rights of individual as fundamental rights. All the power in democracy ultimately belongs to the country of people. Finance Commission is a constitutionally mandated body that balances revenue power with with expenditure responsibilities. Democracy belongs to the country's people. Yes, obviously, power in a democracy means complete. All power in democracy ultimately belongs to the country's people because they elect people. Right? This is a very philosophical sentence. It is right. Finance Commission, Article 280, it was constituted by the President type member body that basically recommends the center and the tax devolution from the center to the states and the panchayat Raj institutions. It is a constitutional mandated body and that balances the revenue power and with expenditure responsibilities. So both option 1 and 2 are right. Software. What is a software? Software is a software that enables user to obtain secret information about the computer's activities. What do you mean a software? Anything inside a computer which you cannot see is software. Anything you can see is called as hardware, right? And what if you are employing a software to gain information, secret information, real-time information is called as spyware. Is called as spyware. C. So for today, this much is a discussion. Like this video, share this video, encourage us to continue this program. Right? Thank you.